considered myself to be an American author who has gained some recognition with my book, The Good Earth, but I have not lived my entire life in this country. I was born in West Virginia in 1892, but most of my childhood I lived in China with my parents who were Presbyterian missionaries. Even though my parents looked upon the Chinese as their equals, I had mixed emotions about the work of missionaries after I left China. I clearly see a double standard in the way we treat the Chinese. We send missionaries to China so the Chinese can get to heaven, but then we won't let them into our own country. My parents' intentions were always honest and pure, but I knew other families who held racist views towards the Chinese people that they were supposedly trying to help. If you had read my book, The Good Earth, I hope that my love for the Chinese people shines through it. My husband and I decided to raise our family in China, and we both enjoyed living and working with the Chinese people, even though there was a great political unrest there. Many years before, my father had said to us, "We will always be safe in China." I told myself the same thing in 1927 when war broke out between the communists and the nationalists. When we learned that Americans were being murdered, we knew that we would have to go into hiding. A poor Chinese family took us in, and we spent the night hiding in their basement, terrified, as we listened to the sound of gunfire in the distance. The next morning, our little family of four quietly slipped onto some American boats that took us to Japan. But we returned to China when it was safe again. After all, China was our home. But that would all change when my marriage started to fall apart, and I felt the need to return to the United States to get my daughter Carol the medical care she needed for her developmental disability. It was here in New York I met publisher Richard Walsh, the man who would become my second husband. It was also here I was inspired to write the book I am best known for, The Good Earth. I spent a year writing that book, holed up in my little attic room, pecking away at my typewriter, dreaming of the Chinese characters that filled its pages. It begins on Wang Lung's wedding day and is followed by the rise and fall of his good fortune. It is set in China in the years before World War I. And I enjoyed writing this book so much because it reminded me of people I had known from my childhood. The book went on to win many awards, including the Pulitzer Prize in 1932 and the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1938. I eventually turned the story into a trilogy, writing 2 more books about the life of Wang Lung and his family. My writing career continues to be successful, and my marriage to Richard has been a long and happy one. My only sadness comes from the fact that I have not been able to return to the country I hold so dear to my heart, China. The rise of communism in the country led them to ban my books and denounce me as an American cultural imperialist. Still, I one day dream of returning to the country that has meant so much to me throughout my life. Now, I think you may have some questions for me. What would you like to know?